Welcome to the Side Out Society podcast, your go-to place for the culture, stories, and community surrounding women's volleyball. I'm one of your hosts, Tiff.
And I'm Lindsay Harwood, your other host.
How's it going, Linz?
I'm good. So how was your trip?
Just so you guys know, I was in Disney with the family for the past 5 days, and I missed pretty much everything involving volleyball. I got to read 900 square feet newsletters. That's the only thing that really kept me up to speed. Thank you, Lee, for sending those out. So I know what's going on. But yeah, we were at Disney and it was absolutely amazing, actually.
Was it chaotic? It was like I can't imagine with 2 kids and...
No, yes and no. It was chaotic in the sense that there was a lot of people, and especially, Magic Kingdom, you don't want to lose your child. So we had air tags just in case, but we had 2 scares where one of them just kind of wandered off to look at something. We're like, where are they? But it wasn't bad. We were fine pretty much the whole time. But I don't know. I was so nervous. Everything was going to be hectic and stressful, and the kids might want to go back to the resort to go swimming when we're here at the parks, and it went great. One of the best trips that we've ever done, and yeah, very, very busy. I think we walked on average about 20,000 steps a day.
Well, I'm glad it went well. That's fun. Yeah, of all weekends to miss, you missed a big news volleyball news week.
I know, which is why we're kind of going to treat this episode as a, what did I miss this past week? So Lindsay's going to help fill me in and you guys in on any volleyball news that we missed this past week, this past holiday weekend. So are you ready to start with the volleyball news?
Let's do it.
All right. So let's start with the big event that happened over this holiday weekend, and that was the LOVB Classic that was out in Kansas City during the same girls youth volleyball tournament that goes on at the same time. So this year they did it differently. I know this because I remember learning about this at the beginning of the season. So last year they had the tournament style where they actually played a mini tournament and the winner won, I think, $10,000 or $100,000 for the team, something like that. This time it was just 3 regular season games that actually count towards the standings. So tell me what happened.
Okay, I'm going to be honest. Look, it was really fun to watch, and it was fun to watch all the teams play, in one centralized location. I think as a viewer at home, if I didn't know it was LOVB Classic, it just seemed like any other weekend of games. Compared to last year, there was no trophy, there's no elimination, no championship. So it just felt like the stakes were a little lower as a viewer from home. I think if you were there, it was like Kansas City this weekend was the place to be. It was really fun to see on social and on TV. Every college coach was there, a lot of the alumni, all the best high school players are there, and a lot of the pro players were there to watch the club game. So it was it was the hub of volleyball this weekend. So very exciting. I think if you were there in person, I think digitally and for the viewers at home, it felt like watching the regular games, and we had 3 sweeps. So I wish we had some longer matches. We had 3 sweeps. Salt Lake City swept Austin, Houston swept Madison, and Atlanta swept Nebraska. So coming out,
that's kind of a bummer.
I know. It's you want some more excitement and longer games. So yeah, that was a little disappointing. But look, it's the second season of LOVB. I think they're trying to test out what works. I want them to be really successful. So it feels like whether next year, I'm curious what they're going to come out and do next year to see which version really seemed to work better. There's a huge opportunity for this to be a big tentpole event for LOVB every single year. So I would like to see some more excitement around it and just some higher stakes, whether it's money, elimination, something to get us riled up for the viewers at home.
Yeah. Could you tell watching the matches if there were a lot of fans in attendance? Because I feel
there were fans.
But one of the things I find interesting, and I get the idea of having this, I don't want to call it a tournament because it's not a tournament really anymore, but I guess it is in a way. But the LOVB Classic in Kansas City during this weekend is that there are all these youth teams out there. However, I mean, you played in these tournaments by like the afternoon. You know, if you're a morning wave, you would get lunch and kind of like hang out with your team, but then it's sort of, you're exhausted. At least I was exhausted. We didn't do too much in the afternoons, or we would go somewhere and we'd be out like X amount of hours, and then we would go to the hotel and sleep and get ready for the next wave the next day. Or if you're in the afternoon wave, by the time you finish, you're either completely dead and you're going to go eat dinner. I don't know. I'm just curious how many people go with that schedule of play and rest when you're playing like a long tournament.
Yeah, like there's a lot of fans there. If you were there, let us know, how it was.
Yeah.
I think the Classic this year seemed to be more about the in-person experience, about the fan gathering, the brand sponsorships, the, internal league cohesion of having all of the teams be able to play each other. So that was fun. If you're there, that must be really exciting to be able to go and see every single team play. I just think it needs to be really exciting. It wasn't, even I'm someone who clearly follows a lot of volleyball, and I was confused and like, was there a champion? How does this tournament go going into this tournament? And it was like, no, it's not an actual tournament. So there's so much opportunity here to make this really exciting. And I gotta say, there was some surprises from the outcomes. Houston and Salt Lake City, I think now the teams to watch. Salt Lake City has been ranked number one.
Insane. Yeah.
They're incredible. But Houston, I think, had the best weekend of any team at the Love Classic. So one, they swept Madison. Their libero, Lauren Briseño, got the Defensive Player of the Week after, in this past week, having 2 sweeps. I mean, playing unbelievable. Like, she was all over the place. Houston just really came out and showed that they were strong. They're the team to watch. And now I believe they're ranked almost
second right now.
Yeah, they're ranked second. So that was a huge
poor
comeback.
Start, remember?
Yeah, they really didn't, and Maddie Walk got some playing time with Logan Leidnicki, which was really fun. So that was really fun to watch. And Salt Lake obviously is just such a dominant team. So, Austin, Madison, Nebraska, they didn't play so great. They were, I think they're relying on some of their pins. What happens if they're out of system? Their offense kind of doesn't do as well. Their middles weren't as involved. So we're right in the mid-season of the league. So we're smack dab in the middle of the season. And so now it's really about, what do these teams learn from the first half of the season, and what do you need to do to continue on and make playoffs and ultimately become the champion?
You know what? Since it is the middle of the season, it doesn't feel like it because it just started a month and a half ago, but wouldn't you want to make this more than an all-star? It's weird to say all-star because you only have a month and a half of games, but I would make this an all-star event where the top players from each teams go and they compete in a fun match, get a celebrity, the celebrity softball game during MLB All-Star Weekend, do a celebrity volleyball match with people who used to play volleyball and are coming in for this, or even I don't know, a skills competition, who can jump the highest, who is the highest vertical, who can serve and hit certain spots on make it an event like that. I feel like that would be way more fun than these games that are just regular season games that don't have an end game type of thing, right? Unless they go back to that tournament style. But I want to see some fun.
I agree. No, basketball slam dunk tournament. I don't watch a lot of basketball, but that I watch. It's fun. So
yeah, who can hit instead of slam dunk? It's who can spike the ball the closest to the ground,
or the fastest. Put a radar gun on it.
Yeah.
And who can hit the hardest?
Yes, that's what we need. This is what we need. Love, are you listening? Here we go. We already got the ideas going for you. We'll happily be part of it too. Yep. Maybe next year. We can try.
No, there's so much opportunity. Yeah, we got to.
So much opportunity. Well, after this weekend, we have the current standings with Love Salt Lake in first place. I mean, they are just on fire right now. They only have 1 loss. Then you got Love Houston, who's 6-3. Love Austin, who's 5-5. Love Atlanta, which is 3-5. Love Nebraska at 3-6. And Love Madison at 2-7. I feel like we were jinxed for Madison because as soon as we had Lauren Carlini on, they haven't really won.
I know, and they're so good.
I don't want to take that burden.
No, I know. But like every team, look, that we talked about the wheel of parity and whatever. Yeah. There's like every team is so good that the differences seem small. Who's having a good night, who's having a bad night. So I thought at the beginning of the season, Madison and Nebraska looked incredible. And so now they're at the end. So we're halfway through. I think they're going to they left this weekend realizing there's a lot of things they have to figure out. But I'm all for Houston. Like, good for them. They looked great.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. I mean, I love Jess Merzick, so I'm happy to see Houston doing well. Also, let's not forget that last year, Austin and Nebraska, well, Omaha at the time, were the worst two teams in the league, and they ended up playing in the finals, in the Love Finals, and Austin won. So who knows? I know this year they're changing it, and like the last two teams will not be invited to the playoffs, but just saying, there's still time to turn things around. You never know.
It's still early.
Still early. All right, well, let's move over to the other professional league because there was a huge shakeup in Major League Volleyball, the first trade ever, actually, in MLV history, which was the Omaha Supernovas traded U.S. national team libero Morgan Hentz to the Grand Rapids Rise for Elena Ogilvy and a first-round pick in 2026. So this happened, I think, actually, like right before I left for Disney, but I didn't have time to digest it too much. So, I mean, what were your thoughts when you saw that?
I mean, we texted each other right away, like, holy shit. I mean, I think this was the biggest news of the week. Unbelievable. You know, I think they were both told, or it was announced Friday, and by Saturday morning at 6 a.m., they were both on flights, moved out of their apartments and on to the other team. So this happened really quick. So look, the Omaha Supernovas are at the top of the rankings. Grand Rapids Rise are at the bottom. This was a huge get for Grand Rapids Rise. And I think I heard that Morgan Hentz wanted this trade, but Elena Ogilvy is amazing. I've been a huge fan of her since her 5 years at Stanford. But for Omaha to make this trade and get the first round pick next year, what I'm thinking is what if Harper Murray goes into the draft or another Andy Jackson, something like that, and they really want the first round draft pick. I mean, they're already at the top, towards the top of the rankings this year, so this would set them up to be in a really good position for next year. It was just very surprising. However, if you weren't a fan of Morgan Hentz already, her very first game with the Grand Rapids Rise, she then started a Grand Rapids Rise against
at the Atlanta Vibe.
Against the Atlanta Vibe.
And they swept them.
She played unbelievable. Like, she was out of this mind. And we know she was out of this world. Like, we know she's amazing. She's on the national team. But she was all over the place. And I think they had a record start in the first set, like 11-2, 10-2, something like this. They won the second set, 28-26, really exciting. And then they ended up sweeping Atlanta. So talk about making a big impact right away. So yeah, huge fan.
I saw also that this was Grand Rapids' first win since Friday, January 23rd, and their first sweep of the season. So, I mean, obviously this is a team sport. There's a lot of things that need to happen. And actually, like, Morgan Hentz only had 8 digs, which, like, but I don't know, maybe she brought some other, like, energy or just some sort of, excitement, because, you know, it's all about the vibe and the momentum as well. So, but big win for them and crazy move. And yeah,
I would have thought wild. More digs just watching it. I mean, then those digs were unbelievable. She was all over the place.
Yeah, she finished with 8 digs, 3 assists, and 11 serve receive passes. So, I mean, she obviously made an impact in your brain the way that she was moving. So, I mean, she made an impact when we watched her at the VNLs last summer. So,
yeah, there's no doubt she's incredible. She's an incredible libero, and she's basically a founder of the MLV. You know, she was one of the very, very first players, and she's got to give her credit for calling every single player basically that she knew and convincing them to stay in the United States and play for the MLV. So she's like a founder of this league, and, you know, she has the talent to match, and she's really fun to watch. So I'm excited to see how the Grand Rapids Rise plays the rest of the season, because you're right, it is a team sport. I don't think one great player can ever make or break a team. So we'll have to see, was this win a fluke, or are they going to really turn it around this season?
We'll see how the rise rises with the rest of the season. Oh, look at that.
Yes. Ooh, but speaking of, to update you, speaking of teams, so the Dallas Pulse, I think team to watch this past week. Okay. Dallas Pulse had 2 major wins. They had a 5-set win over Omaha and a sweep over Columbus. As I was watching, Sofia Maldonado Diaz was the first player on the Dallas Pulse to be named Player of the Week. She played out of her mind in the first game, the 5-set win over Omaha. She had a career record 31 points. So she had 30 kills. And she was just on fire. It was like, as I'm watching it, every point, I'm like, oh, another kill. She was on fire, and Omaha couldn't do anything to stop her. And Mimi Collier, is normally the player with, record high kills. And she still had an amazing game and amazing stats, but Diaz just really killed it. And then she had 17 points, 16 kills, hitting 387 in their sweep against Columbus. Damn. So they had a great week, and those games were really fun to watch.
Damn. I mean, they managed to get a really good group of women together to play on that roster. So they definitely are exciting. It would be really cool to see them win the finals, like to get the title in their first year ever as a team in the league.
No, it's true. And it's fun to see all the coach and the players just talk about the culture and building a team from scratch. And, when we talked to Mimi Collier on this podcast, just hearing from her that this was a brand new season, brand new team. She's a rookie, but coming into a team that wasn't already established, you have the opportunity to create new friendships, new culture from scratch. And obviously it's working, and they're playing really well, and it's a really fun team to watch.
Yeah, 100%. All right. Well, speaking of Major League Volleyball, there has been some drama in the league off the court. I'm not sure if people saw, you may have, but apparently the San Diego Mojo and their owner are being sued by a former employee on employment discrimination, gender discrimination, and sexual harassment claims, which, not something I was expecting to come across. But according to the complaint, the plaintiff, who rose from unpaid intern to director level with a salary increase to $92,000. First off, unpaid intern to director level, you go, girl. But she was apparently terminated within 10 days of ending a relationship with the defendant, despite having no performance issues, and after being explicitly warned by Gary Jacobs, who is the defendant and the current owner of the team, that her employment was contingent on maintaining the relationship. So that's not great. I love true crime and lawyer shows like Law and Order and stuff. So I couldn't help but fall down a rabbit hole a little bit on this one. I mean, I didn't go too deep on a deep dive because, again, my time was limited. I was more in a magical, happy place this past weekend than lawsuits and stuff. But I was looking at Gary Jacobs. He became the controlling owner of the Mojo in November 2024. So in an article from December 2024, again, this is one of those hindsight is 2020 or whatever, but the San Diego Mojo posted an article in December 2024 called "Expect Lunacy Boundary Pushing from San Diego Mojo Under New Owner." And I mean, like I said, hindsight is 2020, but there is a quote in the article that just makes you question it now, especially with this lawsuit. But it said, "Owner Gary Jacobs and club president Billy Johnson are boundary pushers who bake laughs in with the risk." And then later in the article it says, "Together, the two understand the need to lure people in the door and create buzz outside of their home at Viejas Arena." So that seems kind of all right. But to give you an example, they were working with this Las Vegas Wranglers minor league hockey team back in the day. Together they worked, they ran this team from 2010 to 2014. And for their opening match, there was apparently a preacher who was predicting that that day was going to be the end of the world. So they completely changed the way that they were going to do all of their opening day things. And so they changed their promotions to like, come to our game or come to the last day on earth full of doom and gloom. And like they did a whole thing where they had, apparently they had like highly polished productions with live reports from the strip of casinos getting sucked into the sky and those type of things. And their entrance music was It's the End of the World as We Know It by REM. So like, I think that's kind of funny, but like, remember Rod Blagojevich? The former governor of Illinois who was impeached, jailed, and convicted on federal charges. Well, when he got out of jail, they did a Rod Blagojevich prison uniform night. Like, you know, they just did these.
They're pushing the envelope in a really weird way. It is very weird.
It's funny, but then you're also kind of like,
I don't know. I'm like, look, I think there's like 2 sides to every story, or there's 100 sides to every story. So let's see. Like, I'm curious to see. This is just the complaint. So I'm curious to see what the Mojo has to say about it. I don't think there's been anything public response-wise from them.
I haven't seen anything.
So, yeah, we'll have to keep following this and see. Because, look, anyone can make a claim. I also believe women. So, yeah, we got to see how it plays out. But that's a crazy, like, a prison night. Like, that makes no sense.
Yeah, it's wild. Like, I think of some of the minor league baseball promotions that we go to at the minor league team that's near our house. And they're definitely not like that.
Options. Like, right? A lot of other choices before that.
Especially when you want it to be family friendly. Yep. But, you know, to each their own. We will see how this plays out, but we will keep you updated because, again, the whole law and order world fascinates me. So we'll get into that later as we learn more. All right, moving on. Another piece of news that happened this week that I heard of very top level, but the VNLs have a bunch of rule changes. So can you explain to me what some of these new rules are?
Yes. So thanks to Avid Volley, who we think translated this from the Polish news and then posted it, and that's what everyone's talking about. So very controversial, I have to say. This was like besides the Morgan Elena trade, this was the biggest news of the weekend. So look, there's some of the main points that I agree with to increase. It says improved game fluidity. You can change your serve receive right after the ref blows the whistle instead of when they contact the ball. You can play the ball off the ceiling if it lands back on your side, which is hilarious. It's like most of these are
playing like...
That's like relative, like that relates to us playing rec volleyball at this age, you know, not these professionals in beautiful big arenas.
Yeah.
You can't call a timeout right after a challenge. I agree. Keep the game moving. Mm-hmm. Great. The controversial one is expanded libero rules, which says that now the libero can overhand set in front of the 3-meter line, which right now is a no-no. So if the libero steps in front of the 3-meter line, they have to set it with their underhand, like a pass. This really can change the nature of the game extensively. Like, you know, right now that if when this happens, when this changes, technically you could have a back row setter all around. Like if your setter is then in the front row, you could have the libero overhand set in the back row. I mean, I disagree with this. I think it's crazy. I don't know. Look, setters, the liberos are really good setters, but I'm dying to see how this is really going to change coaches like recruiting liberos, or how they're going to change their game plan to have the libero take second ball, which they normally do anyways. But like, what does this look like? You know, from your rotation wise, from, you know, the skills that each of your players have to do, like this can really change the setter libero relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I don't know how I feel about this rule because I'm like, personally, I hate setting. So I'm a better setter if I bump pass than if I use my hands. So I would probably stick with bump passing even if I was in the front of the 10-foot line and I was allowed to. But yeah, I don't.
But liberos like Elena Scott on, you know, former Louisville, who's now on the Indy Ignite. Mm-hmm. She's one of the best I think one of the best liberos in the league and one of the best setters. She's a former setter. So she already has incredible overhand sets from the back row. But then if she's in the front row, like that's like having a second setter. So look, it could be exciting, but I think this change of all of the changes has the potential to really change the game or change, how different teams operate. So like, I'm very curious to see how this plays out over the summer and talk to some coaches to see what they're thinking and how they're going to change their game plan from this.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
But like one of the changes I do like is an updated substitution rule, which changes. So it changes the substitution limit from 6 to 8 per set. So which I like, because then you get a chance to see more players come in. That's not that big of a change. So, get another serving sub, get a player we really like, be a serving sub, play some, DS. I'm good. I like that.
Yeah, I understand the substitution limit rule, but I just think in general that, I feel like you can make the games more interesting if you do have like, your server sub who comes in and like is just there to deliver insane serves, because it makes the game more interesting and challenging.
Yeah, and I get it. I get why the substitutions the numbers get smaller and smaller as you get better. College, I believe you have 14 a set. Correct me if I'm wrong, but as you go from college to pro to nationals, the amount of subs lowers, and which makes sense to me, because you have to be a better all-around rotation player. You can't just be a good hitter or just a good back row player unless you're libero. So I understand that. I think I like the 8 though. That's just like, let's put in one more person for this rotation to get in. So I think that's a good balance in my mind.
Yeah. Good number.
So yeah, we'll keep you posted as like VNLs go on, and like that's what we're going to be watching. So these new rules will be tested this summer at the VNLs.
Yeah. Oh, wow. This summer. Okay. So we'll be able to see how it actually works starting June 3rd is when the VNL started. That's when week 1 is. So they go from June 3rd all the way through the finals, which will be on July 26th in China. For us in the U.S., if you want to go to the VNLs, I think the only option is Quebec City, probably, right?
That's the closest. Unless you want to travel to Japan, which I would love to go.
Super cool. Yeah.
I think Quebec City is the closest to the States.
Closest to the States. But don't forget, next year, it will be in the States and in Canada. So we will have plenty of options to watch amazing volleyball in the States next year. All right. One thing we wanted to talk about, which is old news, but because we had the amazing, lovely Reagan Cooper on our podcast last week, we didn't get a chance to talk about this. But during Super Bowl week, Harper Murray was out and having a lot of fun at the parties and stuff. And I feel like there are blossoming friendships connecting multiple top-level female athletes from across multiple sports. And I am super excited about this because I feel like it's a sign that the volleyball world is entering more of a pop culture zeitgeist. So Harper posted pictures with Paige Beckers. Everyone knows Paige Beckers, former UConn star and current Dallas Stars star. So she posted pictures with Paige, and she also posted pictures with U.S. national gymnast Suni Lee. So I'm like, all right, let's get the friendships going. Let's keep building these athletes up. And the other thing that is interesting is, like, I was wondering, were they at like an Adidas party together? Because I know Harper is an Adidas athlete, but Paige is Nike and Suni Lee is Hoka. So that nothing, at least top level that I could find, has anything to do with brand partnership. It is like solely we're hanging out, which I'm loving this.
No, I love it. It's like fun. It's really fun to see. And I feel like Harper, of all of the players, like we've in all of the conversations we've had with people in the volleyball world, like who's our Caitlin Clark or who's our Simone Biles, Emily Eamon said she thinks it's like Olivia Babcock with the stats. I think Harper Murray, just with her, like all of her social, the way that she's followed, she has like the aura, just meeting her in person. Like, I love to see her becoming friends with all of these other athletes and, getting the brand partnerships and making a name for herself in and out of volleyball is huge for her. It's huge for the sport. and just bringing volleyball into general women's sports categories and pop culture. So yeah, that was really fun to see.
Yeah. She also has some like really fun outfits, which
she has the best style. Love it.
As someone who's short, I can't pull those off because I don't have that long torso, but she crushed them.
I know. It's so like in our everyday life, I don't feel so little. But, when we were at the banquet last year and we're meeting all of the players, it's like, especially Harper, when we talked to like Harper, Andy Jackson, we were just like, look up. We're like, oh, it's so nice to meet you. It's like, they're tall, but they're just like, they're so tall and athletic and beautiful and charming in person. It's just, so that was really fun. But I felt very, very small.
I would love to see them start to become like the new models. You know how like there's a lot of athletes who are modeling for brands. Like I know Harper does stuff with Adidas, but I would like to see, the high end stuff come at them. Like, come on, Chanel, Dior, like all of them. Get some of these girls because
Kimberly, get Kimberly. I know, and get Kimberly Druniak, who also models, who we chatted with.
Yeah,
like she's stunning. Like, give some tips. So it's just like it's just really fun to see the different sides of these players. Like we see them so much on the court, and what the fans see the most is obviously their athletic ability and all of that, which is what we want to highlight and feature. But I love to see the off the court stuff too. Like I love to see what she's wearing, and Harper does have the best style, and I want to see more of those brand partnerships and like all their jewelry at the stacks. Like I feel like that's like what girls want to see too. So like, I like it all. I want it all.
I love it all. All right, Lindsay, to wrap up the episode, I'm going to give you a little deep dive that, so when I got home last night from Disney, we decided to relax by putting on the Olympics. It was a rewatch because obviously all the events already happened earlier in the morning, but we were watching bobsledding, which included the women's solo bobsled. And first off, there were two women, one from the U.S. One was a 40-year-old who got bronze, and then the woman who got gold was a mother of two, which I'm like, dream big, ladies, because that is badass by them. But while they were talking about, the bobsledders, the announcer was like, yeah, a lot of volleyball players become bobsledders. And I was like, what? Like, did you know this?
I had no idea.
I had no idea either. So I had to do a little deep dive on it because I find it fascinating. So apparently, also, let me just preface, like, after reading and learning about this, it makes a lot of sense. But again, I did not compare the two or think about it to begin with. But apparently, so there are such things as like bobsled recruiters, like winter sport recruiters, and they do target NCAA volleyball players because of their explosive power, their sprint speed, and their functional mass. So like the explosive leg power from all the jumping, they need, so they're usually the brakeman, which is the person who is in the back who pushes the bobsled and then jumps into it at the very end. So like volleyball, because of the explosive power with jumping, their legs are like really good. So that's why they have them in that role. And also the jumping into the bobsled, it's a very specific timing. Like if you're too early, you could slow the bobsled down. If you're too late, you risk like either like a fishtail or not getting in properly. So it's like a very specific thing, which as a volleyball player, you need to time your jumps to sets. So like makes perfect sense, which I never thought about. And then also like they usually like sprinters for this brakeman position, but sometimes sprinters, their bodies are too thin. So like volleyball players have more mass because they're stronger in that regard because they need to be able to like, jump and whatnot. And also like your center of gravity is lower because volleyball players need to be low for digging. So that really helps with like, extra momentum and stuff like that, which I'm just like, this is fascinating to me.
I never, like, that makes total sense. I never would have thought about that. I mean, also, I want to know, like, bobsled recruiters, like, genius of, like, let's go after college volleyball players. But all of that makes sense. Yeah.
It's crazy. So there are a few, like, notable volleyball players who've become bobsledders. I think from the US, like the biggest one is Lauren Gibbs, who is a former standout at Brown University, where she actually still currently ranks 4th all time in kills. She won the silver medal at the 2018 Pyeongchang Olympics, which I had no idea.
Good for her.
Yeah, former volleyball player. Then Katie Eberling was a 4-year starter at Western Michigan. She's a 2-time world championship medalist and a 2014 Olympic alternate. So you got her. Over in Switzerland, Melanie Hassler, she was a competitive beach and indoor player. She placed 6th at Beijing in 2022 and also won the European Championship silver medal in 2025. I mean, like, it's kind of crazy how many people are involved. Oh, I also saw an interesting fact. Katie Eberling. So she was apparently involved in like a controversy at the Olympics in 2014. She was supposed to be on the Olympic bobsled team, but they chose track star Lolo Jones over her for the final bobsled spot, which I think is crazy. And like, again, I didn't realize that sprinters were bobsledders too.
It's like, do you grow up always wanting to be a bobsledder? Maybe, probably, maybe not. And then you just show you're athletic. I feel like this proves that if you're just really athletic at something, you can just transition into a new sport. You're so good at picking it up.
Well, that's what they were saying also about bobsledding, specifically as the brakeman position, because that you don't really need to teach too much skill, like the technical stuff of the bobsledding, because that stuff, like I said, like the sprinting, the jumping and all that is kind of like already inherent in these athletes because that's just what they grew up doing with their sport that they're already good at. So it's like super easy to coach them into this position. And also like volleyball players have that team mentality already, and they're just more like they're really good at communicating because you're constantly talking on the floor. So it's just like a great position. And then obviously, like as the name brakeman suggests, they're the ones who actually literally pull the brake at the end when they're ready to end their race.
I wonder what other sports volleyball players would be really, like what other winter sports volleyball players would be really good at. And maybe that's something we do on social too. Like, yeah. I mean, the ski, yeah, I mean, that all makes sense. I'm like, did you see the guy, but sorry, you saw Colin Jost going down the bobsled and his like screens? That was... It's like, that's insane. No, it's the Olympic content I want, like of a regular person doing it first and then realizing how absolutely scary it is.
I would be horrified. I would not be able to handle that. Like, I would be freaked out that I was going to crash or something.
No, he's like, I literally thought I was going to die and that my bones would just fly off. I think Jason Kelsey said that too. Like my bones were just going to fly out of my body or something. I was like, that's insane. And they're like, yeah, these volleyball girls are like, yeah, I got this. No problem.
Yeah. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. So so there's a little fun fact for you guys. And for anyone listening who is a volleyball player who has dreams of winning an Olympic medal, you could go into bobsledding. Just saying. All right. Well, is there anything else you want to talk about before we wrap up?
No, I don't. I think we covered all of it. I mean, it was a big week of news, and stay tuned. We're getting more players on our podcast in the next few weeks and few months, and coming up, there'll be an MLV All-Star game on March 28th. Then, the Love Finals, MLV Finals, spring games for college, VNLs over the summer. So a lot of volleyball news and games and fun stuff to watch. So we'll be covering it all.
Yes, a lot of stuff. Oh, you know what? I forgot to tell you with my Disney trip, when we did dinner in Norway, Epcot, which was a character dining experience. There were princesses who were the characters who came to our tables, and it was kind of chilly in there. So I was wearing my Side Out Society sweatshirt when I got my picture with Belle. So I got a nice little Belle SOS combo photo.
I love that you're repping the gear all over.
From Norway to Jersey. Fake Norway.
I love it. You're always working. That's great.
Always working.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we will talk to you all next week with more exciting games. Maybe we'll have a guest, or maybe it'll be us just updating you on what's going on in the volleyball news. But we're excited for another episode next week. And subscribe to our podcast, follow us on social media, and yeah, thanks for listening.
Awesome. Thanks. Bye.